What is up, Hawk fans? I'm going to make this video short and sweet. I don't have a lot of time here. But suffice it to say, there has been two big names that the Iowa Hawkeyes have been linked to at the quarterback position that are off the board. Now, of course, Iowa did land former Auburn quarterback with some starting experience, Hank Brown, out of the transfer portal. And I'm going to make my points very succinctly. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's get this channel to 2,000 subscribers. Like, comment. You guys know the drill. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I often, well, maybe not often, but occasionally I get into some trouble with what I call Iowa fans that do not see their own bias influencing their opinions. And so sometimes when they come across my channel, they expect me to give like the most politically correct, all positive, all foo-foo type answer with regards to Iowa football. And that's just not what my channel is. I'm never going to be that way. It's just not going to happen. And one of those things is me saying that Iowa would struggle to land a starting quarterback. A starting quarterback caliber, or a quarterback that has the caliber of a starting quarterback with starting experience. For the most part. Okay, there might be some starting caliber quarterbacks in the transfer portal without starting experience, but the trifecta, the best case scenario is to land a quarterback that has starting level capabilities with experience, because then you can definitively say, okay, we know he can play at the Division I level. We know that he does have starting experience. It's not all just hypothetical stuff that we've seen from his high school days or his practices behind the scenes. What you guys need to understand is it's not just Iowa who is after these quarterbacks. There are tons of other Power 4 level programs that need quarterbacks. The only teams that don't really need quarterbacks are the elite programs, the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States, those would the Texas, who are able to recruit the high school ranks so well that they can basically just go off of the talent that they get from high school. And this is maybe a different video for a different day. I'm not going to talk on it too much, but I have seen some people say that the talent level of quarterbacks as a whole has diminished substantially. And a lot of it has to do with not having a lot of contact level experience. A lot of these kids play 7-on-7 or, these passing academies, which are not the same as the actual game of football. Obviously, there's not really much that can be done about it. I mean, as a official myself, I mean, I've heard talks that they're going to get rid of tackle football at the youth level in some of the big states like California and things like that. They are trying to get rid of the contact that is football. It's kind of, on a certain level, it's out of our hands. I mean, I'm not saying it's completely out of our hands. If parents don't like it enough, they can definitely try and do something about it. But I digress. The point is that I have seen that, which means that when it comes to the college level, I think the common thought was that with all these passing gurus and all these passing academies, that the quarterback position was actually improving, and that these quarterbacks were so much further ahead coming out of high school And I'm not so sure that that's true. I think it's a handful of guys that is the case, but it's not the case by and large, because a lot of these kids do not have the experience with actual tackle football. They may be better as far as their mechanics go, but as far as their in-game decision-making skills, ability to understand offenses, ability to verbalize offenses and take in all this information, it might not be as good. So I say that to say that there are only a handful of schools that are getting quarterbacks that are at the level of being able to come in out of high school and become serviceable to good quality level starting quarterbacks. It is becoming increasingly difficult for the other schools, the Iowas, the Wisconsins, the Illinois, the Boston colleges, not that they're all at the same level, but those are schools that are Power 4 level schools that are not that are not Ohio State, that are not Michigan, that are not, if you get what I'm saying. So all of these teams are in the market for a quarterback that they feel comfortable has college level experience and can play at the college level. Now, the biggest thing, and because of time purposes, you guys know I really like to expound on some of my thoughts. The main thing that I have said that people have been upset, that some people have gotten upset about, is I have said that Iowa is not in a place yet where they have shed the stank that has been the previous Brian Ferentz years, and even still currently the stank that is the lack of in the passing game. Okay? Quarterbacks that come into the transfer portal still have that in the back of their mind. You don't think they do, you're just delusional. You are mistaken. You're being biased. I wish it wasn't the case. I wish that Iowa was able to shed that stank. But while the offense was improved last year, the passing game wasn't. And so as a quarterback, if you're getting into the transfer portal, you're either leaving because of coach change, leaving because you didn't get playing time, or you're leaving because you want to go to a place that will showcase your skills more. And the last one is probably the biggest one. And can you honestly say, even as an Iowa fan, that Iowa is going to be the place where a quarterback can come to and they are going to be able to showcase their skills more than where they came from? Most of the time, the answer is no. You know, you look at the two main names that Iowa was linked to, Miller Moss and Jackson Arnold. You really think that Iowa, in their heart of hearts and in their mind, is going to be able to, that they're going to be able to say, oh yeah, Iowa is going to showcase my skills more than Oklahoma did. Iowa is going to be able to showcase my skills more than USC and Lincoln Riley did. No. Especially when they have other suitors, guys. That's the thing. They have other options. All things in a vacuum, if it was just, Iowa that was after them, maybe like one other school, maybe Iowa would have a chance. And that's why Iowa was able to land Hank Brown. And that's why, but when there's multiple schools, they don't have a big chance of doing it. And so that's why I've said, Iowa, it's going to be hard for Iowa to land a quarterback that is, hell, even at the level of a Brennan Sullivan or better than Brennan Sullivan. And that's why I said when I did the Hank Brown video, honestly, Iowa landing Brennan Sullivan was a much better pickup than most people realized. And I think he was actually highly underrated in the transfer portal because that was a guy with starting level experience for a team that was over 500. and far outkicked their coverage and preseason expectations in Northwestern. Now, is Brendan Sullivan the most beautiful pocket passer or you know, a quarterback that people look at and go, man, what a smooth, clean, mesmerizing quarterback he is in how he moves, how he climbs the pocket, how he throws? No, okay? But he's a guy that competes, he plays hard, he's a good leader, and he's mobile, which Iowa has not had. So at the same level or better than Brendan Sullivan, Iowa landing a quarterback is going to be very difficult, guys. And looking at the transfer portal, there's maybe only a handful of guys that you can look at and say, yes, they are at the same level or better than Brendan Sullivan. So if you don't know, Brendan Sullivan, Miller Moss, who is probably the most consistent name that Iowa was after. I don't even know if they got a visit from him. Went to Louisville, and Jackson Arnold committed to Auburn. And looking at On3, I mean, you know, it's crazy too, like, you know, Jackson Arnold commits to Auburn, and then there's another high-level transfer quarterback, Malik Murphy, who's also from Duke, who's also favored to go to Auburn. And see, that's what I'm saying, guys. These quarterbacks don't mind. I don't even think competing or having to compete is the biggest issue, or path to starting minutes or starting snaps is the biggest factor. It's a factor, but not the biggest factor. The biggest factor is them wanting to go to programs that have good offenses that can solidify their at the Power 4 level, especially in the SEC or the Big Ten, their skill set, that can show their skill set, because these guys want to get to the pros. That is what they want to get to. And so again, Iowa would be a place that you can showcase your skills, as far as Iowa being a good program. They're a big program. They are one of the winningest programs in the last 10 years in the entire country, definitely in the Big Ten. But again, the offense is lacking. The passing attack is lacking. And so these quarterbacks are not confident, even with Tim Lester there, because it's not even necessarily a Tim Lester thing. It's a Kirk Ferentz thing. It's a philosophy thing. And this is not me saying that Iowa needs to get rid of Kirk Ferentz. It's not. I'm not one of those guys. I have my issues with Kirk Ferentz, but I think, you know, by and large, he's okay. I'll put it to you this way. This next season is going to be a big season in determining, for me, whether I want him to stay or not, because I need to see how much he is willing to give the offensive reins to Tim Lester. It looked pretty good in year one, but Kirk Ferentz has been known to relinquish control only to grab them even harder, okay? So that's pretty much it, guys. There's not really much more to talk about. There's still some names on the board, but again, you know, J.J. Cole, a former 4-star quarterback who committed to Iowa State. It just goes to show, guys, like, you know, when guys, when in this day and age, and this is kind of the beauty, this is one slight positive of the modern football landscape. When guys coming out of high school do not pick Iowa, don't fret, because they could be in the transfer portal the next year, which is what Tyler Barnes said when Caden Proctor spurned Iowa way back when. And it's true. Now, you know, of course, Caden Proctor spurned Iowa twice, but it is true. I mean, these guys can be in the transfer portal a year after, you know. So, you know, he's on the board. You know, there are still some options on the board. There are. But, again, are there a lot of options with guys that are definitively starting level better than Brendan Sullivan quarterbacks on the board that you feel can come in day one and possibly start? Not a lot of names. In the Big Ten for Iowa, not a lot of names. There might be some names of guys that don't have experience but have high upside. I think Hank Brown is one of those guys. I might do a video on the comments that I got from the Hank Brown video, because I think a lot of the comments weren't fair on Hank Brown's talent level. There's maybe there's probably more guys on the board that do have high upside. But again, does Iowa want to waste a spot on a guy with 1 year of eligibility left like Brennan Sullivan, who's not a clear and a clear cut and away starting caliber quarterback? Are they okay doing it just to make the room better and just have another option? Personally, I would be okay with it, but you do also risk losing Brennan Sullivan. So if it doesn't work out, you might be out of luck. You know, that's the risk that you take. So just to wrap this up, this is why I said that I was okay with Iowa landing Hank Brown, because realistically, it's going to be hard for Iowa to land anything better. And at least now, Tim Lester can work on developing him. And you know that he can play at the Division I level. He's got multiple years of eligibility remaining. Okay, that's hard to find. It's hard to find. In the past, it was hard for Brian Ferentz to find quarterbacks that could even play at the Division I level. So at least with him, you know that that's the case. And I still stand by that outside of Brendan Sullivan, I really do think that Hank Brown is the number 2. I think he, right now, is the number 2. And is the heir apparent, assuming Iowa doesn't land any more guys. What Tim Lester, and I would be okay if Iowa lands another, guy that's younger than Brennan Sullivan and has at least 2 years of eligibility remaining. I would be okay with that. So we'll see what happens. I think at this point, though, guys, Iowa really, I think their best pathway to success is building up the best they can outside of the quarterback position and doing their best to develop who they have in the room at the quarterback position. I think that is their best path to success at this point, because I really do think it's going to be hard for them to find somebody else. Not impossible. And apparently they're still very active in the quarterback position. Apparently that's the case. But we heard that before with names like Miller Moss and Jackson Arnold, and they're both off the board. So, and the only name that I have heard that has visited Iowa has been Hank Brown. That's it. That is it. I would feel much better if Iowa, lands the offensive lineman that they're after, who has 1 year of eligibility as a 4-star, lands the wide receiver prospects that they're after, maybe even probably not tight end, because I think Iowa is just fine at the tight end position. I don't think it's worth wasting the resources. I think Iowa has depth, they have athleticism, they have size. The tight end room is just fine. I would rather them go and put those resources into the offensive line, because at the tight end position, Iowa doesn't need another depth piece. They had that, and those guys transferred. They're gone because there's not enough space. There's only 105 scholarship spots. So in this day and age, with only 105 scholarship offers, the main question that you have to ask is, okay, there's two main categories. One is, is this guy's upside so substantial to where it's okay having him be on the roster without maybe starting immediately? Okay, yes, okay, we'll go after him. Or two, do they right now have starting level talent? Those are the two main categories that you're looking at in the transfer portal. All right, guys, that is it. Let me know what you guys think. I know this is not going to make a lot of people happy. That's okay. It's the reality of the situation. and that's just what it is. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment. Thank you guys so much for watching. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow and factor your feelings, because your feelings just matter. I love you, Hawk fans. Stay in there. Stay strong. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.